Good day, my happy friends. I am Drew Eric Miller, and thanks for choosing my podcast. With so much content in the world today, it's my honor to bring you just a little more happiness with each listen. I used to wonder, can I be happier? Can I live a rich, abundant life? Can I dream big and manifest my dreams? The short answer is yes, I can. After much dedicated research, I have discovered beneficial action steps, tools, and life hacks while thriving on my journey to deep and meaningful happiness. In this podcast, I am sharing my research so you too can thrive on your journey to happiness. So get comfortable with a notepad or journal, and together we will manifest happiness. Hello, my happy listeners. Good to see you and hear you again. So welcome to my podcast. My new question is, can I reduce my stress in these unprecedented, difficult times? Woo! Isn't that the truth? Are we just all feeling a lot more stress right now with these unprecedented times? We love that word. We love that. Even the word brings on more stress. Unprecedented times is stressful in itself. And we've got politics, we've got wars, we've got family dramas, we've got work dramas, we've got hobby dramas, we've got all kinds of things that are happening in our lives, and it's all directly impacting our stress. And my stress is so high, it reminded me of Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost saying, "You're in danger, girl." So that's what I wanted to talk about in today's podcast is the amount of stress that we're under for these unprecedented times, that overused word. And, can I live and can I reduce my stress? Can I reduce my stress? Well, of course I can. And so that's what I wanted to talk about in this podcast. So when I was pulling together the podcast, I decided, okay, I'm just going to Google, So I Googled stress, and I Googled the top 10 things that we can do to decrease our stress. And I thought I'd start there. So I found a list to have top 10 things that you can do. And so I was like, okay, well, let me work this. Let me think about this. The first one was a breathing exercise. So there's the alternate nostril breathing, which is great. When you hold your nose on one side and you breathe in through the other side, and then you do it to a count of 4, and then you close both noses and you hold for a count of 4, and then you release out the other side for a count of 4, and that really manages that stressful moment that you're feeling at that time. The second one on the list was prioritizing sleep. So that is a big one. A lot of people are sleep deprived, and that is something that I am very regimented about with my sleep, is that I go to bed every night at 9:30, and I get up at 5:30 in the morning so that I can make a 6:30 gym class. And so from 6:30 to 7:30, I'm at the gym lifting weights and jumping and doing all the, active gym stuff. And so being very regimented about your sleep, or being more mindful about your sleep, is really going to help you feel more relaxed and more stressed. And I've got 3 more things, and then something shifted for me. And so I just wanted to give you that heads up now. Right now, I'm talking about just a couple of these priorities that I read off of the Google, but then something really clicked for me, and that's what I want to talk about. The third one on that Google list was learn to say no and learn to have boundaries. That is something that I had to learn, was boundaries. It wasn't that bad at no, but I was really bad at boundaries. I just allowed whatever anyone into my life in any situation, and I didn't have any boundaries. And now I put up boundaries, and that makes me healthy, where I don't do things I don't want to do. I don't go places I don't want to go. I don't spend time with people that I don't want to spend time with. So healthy boundaries are excellent, and I highly recommend them. That goes for people in relationships. On the last podcast, I talked about what is love and what isn't love, and having healthy boundaries with family, friends, or a partner, a significant other. And so, yeah, boundaries are saying no and having boundaries are a great way to reduce your stress because you're no longer doing things that are going to cause you more stress, which again reduces stress. Eat a balanced diet. That is definitely a good way to reduce stress because you're not spiking with insulin and sugars or gaining weight or causing stress from how you're feeling physically, or either not, you're not you're over full, and then you're upset that you gained weight, or your clothes don't fit, or just all the anxiety around unhealthy eating and the unhealthy lifestyle that goes with. So yeah, having a healthy diet is really important when you are when you are having a life with lower stress. Mindfulness and meditation. This is where it is. This is the really great tool that you can use in your daily practice. So in meditation, you can do it for a minute. You can do it for 60 seconds. You can do it for 3 minutes. If you're starting a meditation practice, I recommend that you try a minute, try 3 minutes, and if you can escalate that up into 5 minutes. What a meditation really is, it's just clearing your mind so that you're not, your monkey mind isn't running around being crazy and thinking about all these different things, and that's adding on to that all that stress that you have already. So that monkey mind is saying, oh, you didn't do this and you didn't do that, and this is what that person's thinking about, this is what that person's thinking about you, or they're saying about you, or you've got that work stuff you've got to take care of. All that monkey chatter is going on in your head. And so when you meditate, that is the part that quiets that monkey chatter down and allows you to find a little quiet, a little peace. And that peace is where the lower stress is. So it's really important to just find time to be quiet. There is some great apps out there that a lot of people use. The Insight Timer is a real popular one. You can listen to a guided meditation. You can go on YouTube, listen to a guided meditation. You can listen to soft music. You can just sit in a park in nature and just stare at the clouds. I mean, meditation doesn't have to be this I can't think thing. Meditation can just also be just being quiet for a few seconds or a minute or 3 minutes. One of the things that I talked about in one of the earlier podcasts is that you have this inner knowing inside of you, this knowledge that gives you insight. Some people call it a gut instinct. Some people call it intuition, whatever is when you want to call it. But there's an inner knowing that we all have, and most often when I'm quieting my mind and I'm quieting that monkey chatter in my head, that's when I'm getting these insights and ideas, and I'm listening to that inner knowing that I always have. And so much good comes out of that inner knowing when I'm quiet. And so meditation doesn't always have to be just not thinking and being quiet and being angry because you didn't not think. I get insights during my meditation. I hear it, I get the insight, and then I quiet my mind again. I hear it, I get the insight, then I quiet my mind again. So that is a great tool for me to use because I get real comfortable with my listening when I'm in that kind of environment. So when I'm just quiet. And exercise was one of the top 10 things that it talked about. And I already talked about that. I get up early when I have a good night's sleep. I get up early and go to the gym at 6:30 for a heavy workout and a very active cardio-based weightlifting program. So yeah, exercise, walking, anything you're going to do is really going to move you into that healthy atmosphere that's going to reduce your stress, because a better heart rate that you have after you've exercised, or you're keeping a good metabolism going, eating well, sleeping well, exercising, all of that is going to positively contribute to your lack of stress. So then these last four, this is when something clicked in me, and I was like, this sounds oddly familiar. There's something I've seen, I've watched, I've heard this before. What was that? I'll just read them to you really quick. Connecting with others was one. Seek support, friends, family, and therapy. Engage in hobbies and spend time in nature. It was the part about family, friends, and connecting with others. And it dawned on me that I had watched an HBO special, Live to 100, Secrets of the Blue Zones. And I remember watching the Blue Zone, that HBO series. I'm going to get back to it, see if I can get any more tidbits on it. But they talked about people that, so a Blue Zone is an area where there's a lot of people that are over 100 years old. And a lot meaning could be a dozen, could be more than a dozen. I don't really remember what the numbers were, but there was an island in Italy that had a lot of what is it called? Centenarians, I think. Centenarians. I think that's what it's called. We'll go with that. So the Blue Zone is an area where there's a lot of people that over 100 years old, centenarians, something like that. And one of the things that they talked about, why they're living to be so old and so healthy and so active, and why there's so many in this area. And they talked about connection they had with each other in their communities as a whole. So now I remember this one interview, and when they were talking about hobbies that they were doing, things that they were doing with their friends, it wasn't about not drinking or not smoking or not, they weren't obese. That's for sure. But it wasn't about a healthy, lifestyle. They did have a lot of healthy foods and vegetables, because in this one place in Italy, they would have the Mediterranean diet, which Italy would be in the Mediterranean, and so they did have that healthy food, but they also had an active lifestyle. They were getting together in groups of family and friends. They had community. They were doing things together. And they also, some of them had chickens and pets and animals and goats or something like that. I remember they were having this one conversation with this woman. She was thin, and they said to her, why do you think you've lived so long? And she reached into her pocket and she pulled out some chicken feed, and she, right on camera while she was talking, squatted down and squeezed out some chicken feed out of her hands to the chickens that were on the ground, and without putting her hands on her knees, stood back up without any physical stress or pains or anything. She crouched down and stood back up without any support, without any balance, without holding onto a railing or anything, because she bent down, and here's the key, she was feeding chickens. So what that told me was that she had an active lifestyle, and she had the consciousness of, I can do this. I can take care of my home. I can take care of my chickens. She thought her physical body could do anything it wanted. She believed that, and she was living that lifestyle. And that was her exercise. She was able to move around her property and her community and visit everyone on her friends list and go to her hobbies and do her things. I don't remember what all the hobbies were, but they would get, some of them, I think they maybe did knitting groups, or I think they would do shared meals. They would maybe cook at each other's homes, or I can't remember all the details. I'm going to have to go back to it. But community is is that strong sense that really helped all these people. And so what I realized was a lot of the things that people talk about with de-stressing your life are also things that help you live to be 100. So think about that. What helps one person de-stress their life, you're also going to help you live to an old, healthy age. And we all, well, I want that. I hope everybody wants that. But yeah, I want to live old. I want to be old. I want to be, be able to move at 100, 105. Why not? And what I realized was, so the benefit of me focusing on these 10 things that are going to reduce my stress in these unprecedented times are actually the same 10 things that are going to help me to live a healthy, long life of happiness and joy, and help me reach the 100-year mark or longer. And I was like, wow. So that's when it really changed for me, was when I started looking at these last 4. So the seventh one was the one I told you, connection with others, seeking support, friends, and therapy. And that's kind of, well, therapy is fantastic. I think that I highly recommend that for anyone that is holding on to a lot of pain, because a lot of pain and trauma causes stress in your life. So yeah, therapy is going to help you release that past traumas that are preventing you from having a stress-free life. But again, seeking friends and connections are going to strengthen that. Having a hobby is really good. When some people knit, some people cook and take cleaning and cooking classes, or I like to take vacations. That's a nice hobby of mine. This is really enjoyable. This brings me a lot of pleasure, talking about helping people be happy. That brings me a great pleasure. It's not a hobby, but it does bring me great pleasure. And a hobby doesn't have to make you money, or a hobby doesn't have to be something, a totally tangible thing. Whatever is going to make you happy, just focus on that and make that your entertainment. Focus on the things that bring you joy. And the last one was spend time in nature. That's just, so many people have talked about the benefits of maybe walking, and that's the exercise, looking around at nature, going to the beach. I live near the beach, so I like to do that. I don't live near the mountains or anywhere. I'm in Florida, South Florida, so I do have the beach, but people hike and do some of those other outdoor activities. I'm getting ready to have a pool installed, so I'll be swimming in my backyard soon. So that'll be very exciting. So I Googled blue zones, and I read up on what are some of the things that people do in blue zones that help them have that healthy lifestyle. And I'll just read a couple of those things off the list for you. Social connection and long life, activity, community engagement through shared activities, celebrations, rituals, strengthening friendships and creating a sense of belonging, spiritual or religious groups, that's really great. I belong to the Center for Spiritual Living. Social clubs, community events, family gatherings, family intergenerational living, which was a lot of countries do that. A lot of countries have multiple generations, grandparents living with their children or grandparents living with their grandchildren. A lot of countries and a lot of cultures do that. So what that does is it connects and help the older individuals or teaching the younger individuals. So there's a lot of benefits to that. Social connection is going to bring us stress reduction, emotional well-being, give us a sense of purpose, along with physical health. So here's my action step for you. Build social connections. Look at your life and determine where you can build some deeper connections with some other people. So I started a new relationship with my partner 4 years ago, and during this time we've spent a lot of nesting together, alone, watching TV or Netflix and eating dinners and just spending a lot of time just enjoying this new period, being together and getting to know each other. And so when I was researching this, and I was looking at the research results, kind of like Brene Brown, how she does her research and looks at how that impacts her life. I realized like, oh wow, ooh, we've been doing so much time nesting that we haven't spent any time developing social connections or outside activities. And so I realized as I was researching this material for this podcast, like, I need to do a little more of this. I myself have not been strengthening my connections. I'm not, being with my community. I'm not, developing strength in my community with my other friends. And I was like, wow, okay. So I told my spouse, it's like, well, I think we should really start. We've been doing this, nesting thing for long enough. We should probably start introducing some community connection. And so that is with you, my listener. I also am going to be going down this path of social connecting because I realize that really is benefits. The research says this is what I want, this is what I have to do in order to be healthy, have less stress, and live a long, healthy life to 100. So I'm going to do it too. To build social connections, you have to have regular social gatherings, meals, activities, and events, join groups with shared interests, connect across generations, which is what you're talking about with the multiple generations, create social activities and routines, i.e., potlucks, walking groups, dinners, game nights. Any of these things are going to create that sense of gathering and community that you're looking for with those other people. So there's one thing about they mentioned social media, and social media can cause stress, can cause people to be more stressed. There is one person when I was doing my research on healthy social media, there's one person that always knew everything that everybody was doing, and this guy would know if somebody took a trip or would pay attention to always commenting on someone else's stuff. And it really taught me the benefits of social media because when I would see that person, they would always know what was happening in my life, what was happening in other people's lives. And I thought, wow, I need to practice that. I've got a social media account and I need to focus my social media attention on the people that are important to me so that I can stay connected with what's happening in their life. And so when I interact and have community with those people that are important to me, I can say, hey, you went to this. What did you think of it? I saw you were at that play. You just took a trip. Well, how was that family event that you went to? And then that really sparks a deeper connection because it shows that I'm interested in them, and it shows that I know what's happening in their life, and that I'm interested in hearing more about them, and we can share and connect on a deeper level because I've done my research. And then there's the other aspect of social media where you're just over consuming the information, and that's not going to cause you a lower stress level, which is what we're trying to do here today. So pay attention to your amount of social media, how you're using it. Can you use it more strategically? And then can you develop deeper connections with people because you follow them? And I'm not saying, a lot of people are following, famous people or people they're never going to meet. But that's not going to help. You're not going to, have a sit-down conversation with Taylor Swift and say, hey, Taylor Swift, I saw you were just in Venice. How was that trip for you? That's most likely not going to happen. But you can say that to the person that you have community with. So pay attention how you're using that social media. So it dawned on me, having a sense of community is unifying. having a sense of togetherness is unifying. Working and having hobbies with other people is unifying. What are the aspects of not having unification? And so if you're a person that feels angry, resentful, fearful, always pointing the finger outwardly, somebody else is your problem, look what somebody did to you. If you hold grudges, if you're suffering, if you're feeling all the negative emotions, a very good example is just look at the descriptions of political individuals. The people that seem to be the most unhappy are the ones that are having a lot of negative emotions around their identity of their politics. So look at your identity and your politics. And are you seeing others as the problem? Are you angry at others? Do you blame others? Are others taking your jobs? Are others the reason for all your problems? Is everybody else wrong and you're right, or your party's right? How many negative emotions are you feeling in your life every day that are directly contributing to your traumatization, to your unhappiness, and the amount of stress that you are feeling in your life at any given time? Look and see how you feel on a regular basis, and politics is a great example in this unprecedented time. How is that impacting your stress? Because when you want to have a life with less stress, that is one of the biggest contributors to your stress level, is how frustrated and angry and resentful and how much pain you're in every day. Which brought me to my next thought when I started discovering, what I wanted to talk about today, was if I do feel this way, if I'm feeling angry and resentful because of the political situation, is there a way for me to be calm, be an activist, and to help others, or share my message, or share something positive? How can I be an activist without being angry? How can I be an activist without being upset? How can I be an activist without holding on to all my pain that comes along with what got me to be an activist? So there's a quote from author and activist Joanna Macy. The most remarkable feature of this historical moment on earth is not that we are on the way to destroying the world. It is that we are beginning to wake up as from a millennia-long sleep to a whole new relationship to our world, to ourselves, and to each other. Recently, I took a class from Reverend Dr. Cynthia Lindenmeyer called Sacred Activism, Compassion in Action. Sacred meaning worth of respect, activism. And the website is sacredactivismcommunity.org. My takeaway from that class was one of the things I've learned on my journey from my research with Center for Spiritual Living is that whatever we're feeling inside is what we're going to get back. So life is a mirror. The universe is a mirror. So if I'm feeling angry, pain, and resentful, I'm going to start getting back anger, pain, and resentment. So if I put out, whatever I put out into the world is what I'm going to receive back. And so if I want to be an activist worth respect, activism, I can't do it from a place of anger, resentment, and pain. I have to do it from a place of peace, calm, and love. And so my biggest takeaway from that class was to remember to get grounded and centered in my belief system, to feel at peace with where I am in my life. And so if I want to go out to a march or to a picket or to protest something, I did back in the day, I did a Black Lives Matter. It was a really great experience going to a Black Lives Matter demonstration in Wilton Manors, Florida. The police were there. It was very nice. Everyone felt really good. It was just a really good experience. It came from a place of love and respect. I wasn't just only there because I was angry and hurt. I was there to support something that I believed in. And so that was my biggest takeaway from sacred activism, is to release that pain and anger and trauma that got me to be an activist, so that I could go out there and lovingly and respectively protest or picket or whatever it is that I'm trying to do. Because we are in unprecedented times, and we are being called to action right now. But just remember, if you're trying to have a less stressful life because you want to live to a ripe old age, you need to do it from a place of love and healing and health and respect versus anger. Because whatever you're going to put out into the world is where you're going to get back. So that was sacred activism. The last thing that I want to talk about in this podcast is Elizabeth Lesser had a TED Talk called Take the Other to Lunch. And you can Google it. So Elizabeth Lesser, Take the Other to Lunch, TED Talk. It's on YouTube. You'll be able to find it pretty easily. And it's only like 11 minutes, and it's really great. And what she was saying was, sit down. If you're a Republican, sit down with a Democrat. If you're religious, sit down with an atheist. If you're whoever your other person is, if you're white, sit down with a black person or a Latin person. If you're an American, sit down with an immigrant. Whatever your other is, take that person to lunch and spend a little time finding commonality. Finding, if you're a parent, are they a parent? How do they feel about their kids? What was it like raising a child in an immigrant family? What are some of the foods that they cook? Whatever you're going to find common ground on, take that time and get to know them, because what you're going to find is that they're human too. They have the same problems that you do. They have the same issues that you do. So this is what I loved about her TED Talk, was that she really talked about finding that deeper connection. Again, connection, which is what we started off with, finding connection and community with others. We're trying to de-stress our life, and if we are going to otherize other people, she uses that word, otherize other people, that is going to increase our stress and our anger and our resentment and our blame. And we don't want that. So if you really want to live to a long age and have less stress, you need to start some of these practices, some of these action steps. And one of them is take the other to lunch, so that you can start learning a little bit about them. Every time I have a conversation on social with somebody that is of a different party than I am in my political party, I walk away with something, and I really learn something about them that helps me have empathy with them and helps me connect with what they're feeling or thinking. I don't agree with them, and I don't respect their thoughts or thinking or their choices, but I understand them better, and I understand how they got there. And I have more empathy with them because I learn a little something. So every interaction that I have with people, I do walk away with a learning, and that helps me with lower my stress. In her TED Talk, she said that they came up with some decisions, and they were some actions that they could do while they were having a lunch together with somebody, with the other. Her ground rules were: don't defend, persuade, or interrupt. Be curious. Be conversational, be real, and listen. What's amazing about that is that That's exactly how you want to connect with people. That's exactly what's going to bring you less stress. What she was recommending in her TED Talk is what we need to do to have connections with community and with other people. So it was a really great connection on how I got to this place today and coming up with the ideas for this podcast. In her TED Talk, she brings up the Rumi phrase, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. I don't know about you, but I want to be 100. I want to be 105. I want less stress. I want more peace. I want to be happy. I don't want all this unprecedented presence of politics and anger and resentments and pain. I just want to be happy. I want to live a happy life. And if that's what you want to, then try some of these action steps. Try to release your pain, reduce your stress, have social engagement, be the change you want to see in the world, see unity over division, try sacred activism, come from a place of love, and take the other to lunch. Connect with others. Be with others. Find empathy with others. And you'll have a less stressed life. And you'll live to be 100 or over. And that's what I want. So I will meet you there on our 100th anniversary of this podcast. Well, gosh, that would be a long time from now. But thanks for listening. And remember, my friends, be happy.